All right. Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar workshop. We appreciate your presence here today and look forward to having an engaging time with you. We'll be discussing what's new in Solution Manager 7.2 and how to plan your upgrade before the end of the year in today's webinar workshop. We have Donik Moladimi, a Senior Solution Manager and experienced SAP consultant with Core ALM. With that being said, I'll jump into a quick introduction about Core ALM and then hand it over to Donik for the main topic. So here's a little bit about us. We are a dedicated team of experts focused on digital transformation lifecycle. We specialize in SAP solutions, and our team is made up of former SAP practice leads for North America, with each over a decade of experience. So our team is well versed with Solution Manager and knows ALM inside out. We are recognized as an industry leader in ALM services and had multiple Fortune 500 companies use our services. Here are some of the services that we currently offer. We have a series of dedicated workshops planned for topics like change management, test suite over the next few months. And here's how Solution Manager accelerates digital transformation throughout the parts of the life cycle. And here are some of the awards accolades that we received. So this webinar workshop is meant to be educational. It's part of our company culture to give back to SAP community, and we would like to make it interactive. We'll have poll questions throughout the webinar so we can learn and adapt and provide better workshops in the future. Also, if you have any questions, we would love to hear from you. You can submit a question to the presenters by typing your questions in the question pane of the control panel on the GoToWebinar interface. You may send in your questions at any time during the presentation. We'll collect these and address them during the Q&A session at the end of today's presentation. With that being said, we're going to jump into our first poll question. So, have you upgraded to Solution Manager 7.2? So you can select on the following, which is yes, no, or not sure. It's going to give a few more seconds for you guys to answer. Okay, I see that most of you have voted. I'm going to close the poll right now. And here's the result from the poll. So I see that majority of the attendees here today have not upgraded to Solution Manager 7.2. So this is great. At least we're talking to the right audience here. So without further ado, I'm going to have Donik jump in, and he's going to present. Just give me 1 second while I give him present the options. Right, Donik, you can take it from here.
Can you make me a presenter, please?
Yeah, you're a presenter right now.
Okay. All right, Ivan, thank you. Can you confirm that you can see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay, great, thank you. So welcome everyone. Thank you for your time today, joining us and discussing Solution Manager 7.2, the upgrade, what some of the details around new features, things to look out for. Then we're going to talk about the options for the upgrade, what path you can take, what you can do, and then we're going to open it up for questions, or specific questions that you might have. We do have 3 more polling stops, if you will. We're just trying to understand a little bit better as to where you are with your Solution Manager roadmap and planning for the upgrade. First and foremost, if you don't have a lot of details, we're going to talk about why Solution Manager 7.2. So I have a sore throat, so bear with me as we go through this. So as you might be aware, as you probably know, is the Solution Manager was, it's the first fully certified ITIL tool in the world, and pretty much it's certified in all ITIL processes by Ping Verify. So what that means is that it provides you with full capabilities from ITSM perspective, from test management, operations, handling change management as well. So all the ITIL processes. Now with 7.2, SAP has improved that quite a bit, and the way this will get started. So if you have a new deployment, so you have requirements to deploy. So there are different tools that are available for you to document your entire landscape, help you with deployment methodologies, whether it's waterfall, agile, activate methodology, and then it provides you with tools for test automation, so you can continue to deliver new enhancements. There are learning management tools, and then as we move to other areas, once you have the big go live, if you will, then it helps you with the minor enhancements, major enhancements, upgrades, deployment of new functionality. And then all those artifacts are reusable from a test automation perspective. And then, of course, into the operations, you have the monitoring, job scheduling, and the full IT service management tool. So, before we get into the some of the details, just we want to understand a little bit as far as what is your timeline to upgrade to Solution Manager 7.2. And as we noticed, majority of you have not updated yet or upgraded to 7.2. So I'd just like to understand what is your timeline as far as updating. So we'll just give you about 30 seconds to go ahead and respond. Okay, go ahead and close the poll now. Looks like majority has voted, and what we can see here, the good news is that majority of you are planning to upgrade sometime this year. About 10% are planning to upgrade last year, so we just wanted to talk a little bit about the SAP's roadmap and the timelines. So as we take a look at that, is that Solution Manager 7.2 has been available in ramp up, and it's been available for about a year now, and a lot of customers have already migrated, have upgraded to 7.2 and are using functionality, but there's still vast majority that has not. So as you are probably aware, by the end of 2017, SAP Standard Support will end for specifically NetWeaver 7.02 Java instances. And Solution Manager, being a dual stack system and having a Java 7.02 stack or NetWeaver stack, it fits into that category where the Standard Support will no longer be available come December. So it's definitely the time to upgrade. Now, let's talk about new technologies and things that are available in 7.2. If you haven't gotten there yet, it's some of the things that SAP is focusing on is really built a solution manager for the cloud, with the cloud, and on the cloud. So what we mean by that is...
Donnie, sorry to interrupt you, but your screen's not being shared. It's stuck on a poll. You want to try and refresh your sharing screen? Yeah, sorry people for the technical difficulties that we're facing right now.
Okay. Can you see my screen now?
Yeah, there we go. Okay, that looks fine.
Okay. So what I was talking about is just the timeline as far as upgrading from 7.1 to 7.2 by the end of the year. So some of the technologies, as we said, is Solution Manager is for the cloud, meaning that you can build, deploy, run and run SAP for cloud products. So you get same level of standard as cloud as for the on-premise applications. And then with the cloud, as you're probably aware, or you might not be aware, like things like Maintenance Optimizer, which we'll talk about later on, is there are certain functionalities that are moving to the cloud, to the SAP Support Cloud. Things like Maintenance Planner, then you have the KPI catalog that is continuously being enhanced. KPI catalog meaning for the business process monitoring, different roadmaps, S4HANA readiness check, best practices for S4, for example. They're all being developed and deployed on SAP Cloud, and Solution Manager connects with the cloud to fetch the new content. And then Solution Manager on the cloud. So there are a couple of options, or a few options. One of them being the Cloud Appliance Library, where SAP provides that, where you can go ahead and practice maybe the upgrades or the content activation, some of the things that we're going to talk about today. And in addition to that, at Core ALM, we offer SAP ALM as a service, where we could host your Solution Manager on the cloud and provide ALM services to where you don't have to staff for every Solution Manager functionality that you deploy. The good news with 7.2 and the change is that 7.2 is the first release, which leverages SAP HANA. So you have the option of deploying or migrating Solution Manager after you upgrade it to migrate it to SAP HANA. Another good news is that the HANA license for Solution Manager usage, it's already included in your maintenance contract, so there's no additional licensing cost from a database perspective. Obviously, the hardware-related cost is not included in that, but at least the HANA license is included if you're willing to try. And this is good for what we're finding out is that a lot of customers that are going SAP HANA only, it makes sense to move, or customers that are in transition, or if you're paying for maintenance for the current database platform that you're using, at least you don't have to use Solution Manager, or you don't have to pay for Solution Manager and migrate it over. Now, there are benefits besides the speed benefits. Another thing that's important, especially with 7.2, or at least in 7.1, you have for searching capabilities, you could have used the Trex or T-Rex engine to optimize your searching. In 7.2, it's even more required to have Trex, especially if you don't run on HANA. But if you migrate to HANA, you have the capability of using the embedded search in the HANA engine, so you don't have to maintain a separate Trex engine for the searching capabilities. Now, some of the other changes in Solman 7.2, the main thing is the user experience has been improved tremendously. So SAP invested a lot in fixing the presentation layer. So if you've had any experience with the Fiori apps, Solution Manager leverages the Fiori apps or uses the Solution Manager's Launchpad, where all different functionalities can be launched from one screen from the Fiori pad. Everything has been updated to SAP UI 5 or HTML5, which really helps in a lot of areas. So we'll talk about those, about supportability, but pretty much all the functionality of Solution Manager, it's available on via the web interface now. So you don't have to rely on SAP GUI as much as you used to. So that's definitely good news for a lot of folks out there. In addition to that, you remove the requirement or the dependency on the Flash-based applications to where, there were a lot of issues with versions and different browsers in the past. Taking a deeper look at the Launchpad, it really offers you a role-based access to work centers. So all of these tiles, work centers, everything can be controlled with security, and then it pretty much supports all the web browser and mobile applications. And we'll get into more details here in a few slides. The other thing that's very powerful is the searching capability. So now you can search from the Fiori Launchpad. You can search for all areas of Solution Manager. So whether it's incidents, whether it's change tickets, documents, content within documents. You can do wildcard search. So it's really flexible, and it has improved quite a bit over the predecessors. And then, as we discussed, we have the different areas as far as browsers supported for the end users, and then different devices and different technologies that are supported by 7.2. So it's kind of removed a lot of the limitations that were available in the past. So now let's focus a little bit about new functionalities. So a lot of the old functionality has been improved. So even though the framework has remained the same, the infrastructure has remained the same, the front end has changed. However, when it comes to solution documentation, business process monitoring, those are some areas that have changed quite a bit, specifically the solution documentation. So if you had your business processes documented in the transaction and the test cases and everything, in transaction Solar 01, Solar 02, those have gone away. I mean, they are still there for read-only mode and they're obsolete. However, they're not meant to be used. In Solution Manager 7.2, SAP has completely redesigned this area. And what we used to have solutions in the past, but really what it is now, it's called the solution. So projects have gone away as you have different projects. So what we have is solutions, which is really a sum of all your artifacts. So whether it's your business processes, business process flows, test cases, transactions, functional specs, technical specs, any related documentation that you have, they will reside in the solution. And everything will be tied together, and we'll talk about it in a little bit. And then the other powerful functionality that's deployed with Solution Manager 7.2 is the IT project management. So it gives you full capabilities to do IT project management, so for your deployment, and it tightly integrates with different areas of Solution Manager. As we discussed before, there's tight integration with change management, ticketing system, test management, and all it will tie it together very nicely. Now, we've failed to mention in the beginning that we are going to have a series of webinars, and this is the first one for the remainder of the year, where we're going to talk about each of these capabilities and really slowly putting the big puzzle together piece by piece. So stay tuned, and at the end we'll give you information as far as where to sign up. Now, in the past we had different projects, so we're going through different deployments, and we would have to create different projects. We would create copies of certain artifacts, so it was really a big mess, and we'll take a look at that in a minute. But what SAP has done is introduced the concept of branches, where a branch represents a version of the solution documentation. So typically, out of the box, what you'll get is a production and a maintenance branch. So your production branch will have everything that's currently in production. But let's say you are going through an enhancement pack upgrade. In the maintenance branch, you would go ahead and start the deployment. You would update all your documentation, all the test artifacts, test cases, everything would be updated in the maintenance branch. And then once you go live with the upgrade in production, you would just release those changes from the maintenance branch into the production. So now your operations team, they're referencing the production environment. Once you push those changes, all your documentation will be upgraded at that time and updated with the relevant changes. In addition to that, you can have virtually unlimited number of branches. So if you do have N+1 landscapes and so forth, you would be able to create appropriately the required branches to support your environment. Okay. So this is the representation on 7.1, how the storage and the hierarchy of the business processes was set up, and it was really unstructured. So you had a 3-level hierarchy where you had scenarios, processes, and process steps. And then all the documents were all over the place. They were copies. So maintaining the documents has become quite a bit of a challenge. And that's part of the reason that SAP improved this tool. So in 7.2, what you're going to get, the first thing is that you get more than 3 levels of the hierarchy. So you're not limited to only 3. Now you can add folders in front, which allows you to do a much better or improve your structure of your documents. And we'll take a look at a couple of examples here in a minute. And then storage of objects is separated in libraries. So we'll talk about that as well as how you create one copy and then you just reference it. So anytime you make updates, you don't end up with documents that are inconsistent, but you always have one golden copy and you just link to it. So when you make updates to the actual document. And then it enables you to do reusability across your environment. So what we mean by that is when we take a look at the new Solar 1 or Solar 2 or Solar 1 transaction, this is what it looks like. So at the very top, you see there on the top left box, or the first box or column, you have the library. In the library, this is sort of your container or your inventory of everything that you have in your environment. So you have your executables, process steps, development, objects, test cases, and the second column here could go on and on. But as an example, we have the process steps. So you break it down by functional area. When you break it down further, and at the very end, you have the business process steps. In this case, what we've highlighted is create sales order. So the create sales order has 2 artifacts that go with it. You have the executables, and then you have the test cases. So these are defined in the library. But when you want to build your end-to-end business processes, now we're moving into end-to-end business processes, so you can create you can create your business process or put together your business processes. But when you get to the last level, for example, create a sales order or one of those process steps, you don't have to create a hard copy, if you will. What you do is you create a link to what we had previously created. And then anytime you could have different variants of create sales order depending on the channel that's coming in or depending on the country or region. If those have different variants, you can always create a separate variant but to reference the master, the gold copy, if you will, but then you can enhance it. So any relevant document that pertains to all of them, once you update it in one place, you don't have to keep updating it. So this is very flexible. And I believe this is an area that we will have a webinar on sometime in the future. Another big ask from the customers from a solution manager perspective was the business process modeling. So in the past, SAP or Solution Manager integrated with third-party tools for modeling perspective. Now all of that is available in Solution Manager, and it all works via the web interface. So there's no extra client needed that needs to be installed. It just uses that interface, and it's integrated with BPMN Process Editor version 2.0. There's capabilities with certain tools to do an integration, so you can bring in any document, any diagrams that you have built in other tools. You can bring them in because, or the tools that they follow the BPMN 2.0 standards. You can also do export import, so there's a lot of capabilities there, especially with even the SP5 that's out now. Okay. And what that helps us do is really you build the foundation to do other things. So once you build the hierarchy, once you have all the artifacts in place, we can do things like test management. We can have better change management because we can tie things together. In this case, we're showing the business process monitoring piece because this has changed quite a bit. So now what you have is you have a diagram, and you can see the little icons near each decision point or each system representation. And what that means is that those particular steps now are being monitored. And you can monitor, there are about 1,000 KPIs, different areas that you can monitor to make sure that those business processes are working and the flows are working. That it's a tremendous improvement over the earlier versions. Other areas that have improved is the IT service management. There's a lot of improvement in terms of the front end. SAP Jam integration, improved analytics. There are a lot of checklists and automatic dispatching. And this is another area that we're going to have a webinar on. And all of this is based on the CRM 7.0 EHP3, which we'll discuss a little bit more when we get to the technical side of the upgrade. Last but not least, is we have the application operation UIs. So from a technical monitoring perspective, as we'll take a look, there hasn't been a lot of impact in terms of functionality. However, the front end has completely changed. As you'll see, all these, and this is another area that we'll definitely have a webinar on, to where we'll go over capabilities. But this has been improved quite a bit over the front end over the earlier versions. Now, as far as the upgrade impact, so when we look at the upgrade, there are, depending on what you're currently using, so there's different impact, as you can see in the last column. So if you're using things like operations, landscape management, ITSM, data volume management, you're somewhere in the low to medium impact zones. Now, if you're using process management, test management, business process operations, as we mentioned, those are the areas that get impacted the most. And out of those three high items, process management, I would say, is the highest, that has experienced the highest impact. And with that said, there's next few slides, we're going to talk about what you need to pay attention to, what you need to worry about when it comes to process management specifically when you're doing the upgrade. And before we get to that, we would just like to understand as to what pieces you're currently using from a solution manager. So we're going to go ahead and kick off another poll. I'm just trying to understand which pieces you're currently using. I'll give you about 30 seconds. Okay. Thank you. And we'll take a look at the results here, and we can see that quite a few that you know of, at least, process management, process operations, test management, quite a few of you are using functionalities that do fall into the high impact area. So it's definitely, next few slides, I believe, will be very useful for you in terms of the upgrade. Ivan, can you still see my screen?
Yeah, I can see your screen.
Okay, great, thank you. What to expect when we're upgrading to 7.2? So one of the biggest things, besides the technical upgrade, we have to worry what's called the content activation. Since the solution documentation, SolDoc, has been completely rebuilt, what we need to do is there are some things that have to be decided upon, and the preparation, especially if you're planning to upgrade soon, the preparation for those steps needs to happen. Things like, what documents do I need, what do I not need, what can I purge, what needs to be transferred over, in what manner, and go through the preparation where you're going to do the mapping. This is very important because this is something that can only be done once, and it's done after the upgrade. So if something was not selected appropriately and before the upgrade, if some decisions are not made, not necessarily incorrectly, but at least not what you wanted, after you do the technical upgrade, the only way to go back is to restore the system back to the original state so you can make the necessary adjustments. And when we take a look at that, is the preparation can really start anytime. Or SAP recommends to start it ASAP. There are a bunch of notes that have to be applied. to get those tools and the framework set up to where you can start analyzing or preparing what you need to do. Then step number 2 is you start the upgrade, the technical upgrade, which it's pretty straightforward. And we'll talk about it in a little bit, about the steps. And then you have the content activation. That's where the post-processing comes in, where everything comes in, how things are laid out in terms of logical components, logical component groups. Where do you might have multiple projects in source, where does everything fall? How do you tie everything together? How many branches you're going to create? All those pieces are going to be done in the post-processing. So that's the most important area, the content activation, for those of you using the process management, business process operations, test management. That'll be the biggest impact. From an infrastructure perspective, we've been talking about. From an infrastructure perspective, what has changed from a setup? SAP has broken down the mandatory configuration for Solution Manager. They've added a step called the infrastructure preparation. What SAP has done is, and we talked, due to the more of the cloud integration, there's a new mechanism now for connecting that to Service Marketplace, and that the old way is still available, but it's going to go away in the future. So what they're doing is called the hub, where we are connecting, and pretty much all the communication is going to happen through this new framework. So there's more breakdown, a few other areas that have been introduced as far as the configuration of Solution Manager. Another biggest change, especially for the basis folks and those of you who have used Solman only for the upgrades or the new installations, the maintenance optimizer is no longer available in Solution Manager 7.2. So any support pack upgrades that you do, enhancement pack upgrades, you always most likely use maintenance optimizer. That's no longer available. So now everything has gone to the maintenance planner, which is a cloud-based solution, and that's the only tool that's going to be used. Now at this time, even if you're in 7.1, you can also use maintenance planner. It's not a problem, but in 7.2, maintenance optimizer is no longer an option. So that's another area that has changed quite a bit. So keep that in mind. If you have any other upgrades, I know the end of the year is coming with the other upgrades, so you want to make sure that you have the platform to support your other upgrades as well, so keep that in mind. From a technical perspective, we can see on the left, Solution Manager 7.1 was a dual stack system, ran on a classical database. With the 7.2, what's important to understand is that your CRM component, it's going to be upgraded to SP or EHP3, but it's not going to be a release upgrade. You're going to have PPM, Project and Portfolio Management components, going to be updated from 5.0 to 6.1. And most importantly, your dual stack system will no longer be dual stack system. So what you'll end up with is two separate stacks. One you're going to go from 7.02 to NetWeaver 7.4 for ABAP and for Java. So essentially you're going to end up with two different SIDs, one for ABAP and one for Java. I mean, you can certainly reuse the ABAP one, and we would recommend to reuse the ABAP one, and then Java could be built as a new SID. And the option to keep the system on the traditional database or classical database, or migrate to SAP HANA. Okay, when we look at the process from a graphical perspective, as we mentioned, the most important piece is to analyze and prepare, and then you perform the setup, the upgrade, and typically at the same time, if you're planning to migrate to a cloud, that's when you would typically start your preparation to move the system to the cloud, but that's optional. And then post-upgrade, you don't do anything else. You don't execute any post-processing. You finish the upgrade, and then you start the dual stack split. Begin with the dual stack split. It's a whole procedure is described in SAP documents. You go through the split. You have multiple options here, whether you want to keep these systems in the same host, maybe not, but there are a lot of implications here in terms of the connected agents and RFCs. So those are some of the things that you want to keep in mind. And then the optional step of migrating. So at this point, you would migrate to another database if you're replatforming or if you're migrating to HANA. And then once those steps are completed, you begin the Solman setup transaction, or you begin with your post-upgrade activities. You perform the setup first, then you perform the content activation. You go through those steps, and you will have the system upgraded and up and running. There's going to be a lot of things that are kind of function. We've performed several upgrades now. We performed upgrades and migrated. We performed in-place upgrades. And see, just like with SAP, every environment is slightly different, and we're seeing nuances between one customer and another, depending on how they've used it. So change management, for example, you do have some customers that are being affected with some very minor bugs, some that need a little bit more intervention, but everything that we've encountered so far, we have gotten support from SAP, and we've been able to document processes and get through any of the issues that we've ran into. We're reaching the end here, but really what happens is you're going to get all this new functionality. So when you upgrade, you're going to get all this new functionality, new business process management, BPMN 2.0 for modeling and building your diagrams, release management, project management. You're going to upgrade the user experience. You're going to upgrade to the latest technology that's available from SAP, so you kind of line it up with the rest of your environment. And then you upgrade to the new maintenance interval, because SAP will stop supporting certain things at the end of the year. Now, we would like a little bit of feedback from you and see, it tells us a couple of things. First is, was this webinar useful? And at the same time, we'd just like to understand that based on what you've learned today, what you've learned in the past, do you feel that you can perform the upgrade yourself, or do you feel that you might need help? And most likely, you probably need to learn more about it. So your feedback is appreciated. Okay, we'll give it a few more seconds here. Okay, we have 2/3 that have responded, so thank you very much for taking the time. And what we will now is we'll close it out. What I want to make sure is I want to leave some time for the questions, for Q&A. But before we get to that, I just wanted to let you know again that if you go to our website, corealn.com/webinars, we will be publishing the schedule of upcoming webinars. So for each area that we touched base on, we're going to have webinars. Certain areas are going to certainly require more than one session, where we're going to go into detail, whether it be change management, documentation, test management, test automation, operations, system refreshes, copies, monitoring, all areas that we specialize in and are available in Solution Manager. We'll definitely look forward to hosting you again in those sessions. And Ivan, and all the attendees, if you have any questions, please go ahead and submit them through the questions page. So Ivan, do we have any questions that have came in during the session?
Yeah, we do. All right. So thanks, Donik. We're now going to begin answering the questions submitted during today's presentation. As a reminder, you can still submit questions through the questions pane in your attendee control panel. Our first question is from Kartik. He says that his question is, I heard you mentioned Java Stack support for Solution Manager will sunset by end of 2017. Is 7.2 ABAP only? I'm not sure, there's a two-part question.
Okay. Yeah, I touched base on it. So what I've seen on documentation that I've seen, NetWeaver Java 7.02 The support for the Java only will end at 2017. So technically the ABAP, it's still supported. However, Solution Manager 7.1 is a dual stack system, and it, according to SAP, automatically falls into the systems that will be sunsetted. And that's why the claim that 7.1 will no longer be supported after December of this year. Hopefully that clarified the question.
Yeah, he has a follow-up question too. Is authorization changes in a big way?
The security, I mean, it's still the same concept, role-based. There are some new roles, definitely, especially in the areas with higher impact. There are going to be new roles because some of the old security roles were named Solar something, but those are very well documented, and it's a security guide available in the Service Marketplace that helps you understand what the users need now and what authorization objects and composite roles. So it has somewhat changed, but not tremendously. What new things that you do have is the Fiori front end. Obviously, they come with their own sets of roles, so we just have to be analyzed and appropriately addressed.
Okay, hope that answers your question, Kartik. So moving on to the next question, we have a question from Jackie. His question would be, how long does the upgrade usually take for one system?
Okay, for one system, okay. Well, just like any system, it's going to depend on a few things, depending on what you're doing, but the main thing to understand is that typically what we see for one system, it's about 3 weeks to go through all the technical execution and then getting into the post-processing and the content activation. That would not include, if you have extensive capabilities deployed in Solution Manager, that would not include the preparation steps, because it really depends on how much you have deployed. But typically from a consulting perspective, it's about 3 weeks. I mean, it could be a little bit faster in-house for a non-production system, but space and all those things that need to be acquired, that's all included in that estimate.
Okay. Hope that answers your question, Jackie. So I have a question from Sita. After stack split, will the Java need to be connected on the same DB as ABAP is on?
No, you have an option. Depending on the platform, if you want to do MCOD, you can. You can stand up different database instances. So if you're doing the same host, let's say Oracle, so you would have /Oracle /ABAP SID, you'd have /Oracle /Java SID. If it supports MCOD, you can just do a different schema within the same database. On HANA, we do that all the time, where you put both ABAP and Java on the same instance. It could be distributed systems. So treat the Solution Manager Java as the standalone Java system. But it does not have to be one way or another. The connectivity between the two stacks is done at a different layer, so it's not going to matter what it's running on. Solution Manager needs to know, the ABAP stack needs to know about the Java hostname and port numbers, and then all the web services will be configured during this.
Okay, and a follow-up question is from Sita again. It's test management and automation when using HPQC. Can we move the test automation completely to 7.2, or should we still make use of 7.2 in collaboration with HPQC?
There are options there, and we will have definitely a session on the test management, test automation. But with 7.2, you definitely have a full test suite available in Solution Manager. So from having your requirements, test artifacts, having everything in Solution Manager, test planning, test execution, incident management, all those, or defect correction, all those pieces are available in Solution Manager. Now, depends on how much you have invested. There are options there. There are integration options, and you can synchronize back and forth with HP ALM. Obviously, some minimum requirements have to be met. Or you could look at slowly transitioning into Solution Manager, because SAP's goal is to really move everything and provide a tool and a platform for you to do everything that you were able to do in other tools, and now you will be able to do those in Solution Manager, including test automation. So, that should help with some licensing costs and other difficulties.
Okay, sounds good. So you have a follow-up question set up. You're asking if we have a separate webinar that focuses on charm, change management in 7.2. Yes, we will have a separate webinar that will be closer towards Q4 in the plan, I think. So stay tuned to our emails. Moving on, so Kenneth has a question. How do you handle the rollout of the SMD agents after the upgrade? And also, has the performance of the SMD agents improved?
That hasn't changed. So the SMD agents, not much has changed in that arena. Obviously, with Wiley, you have now Wiley 10, version 10, or higher than 10. So that's one of the pieces that should be upgraded to 10. The rollout of the agents, so depending on what you do with your Java stack. So there's multiple options. What you can do is you can preserve the SCS number, and if all your agents are using the SCS number, if you keep the Java on the same host, so then nothing really needs to change. But if you change the host for the Java, if you don't preserve the existing SCS number, so that's where you're going to run into things where you have to reconfigure all the SMD agents to point back to the new Java stack. So, but it's still a manual process to repoint them.
Okay, hope that answers your question, Kenneth. Keep the questions coming in. I really see a few good questions. Okay, we have Hannah asking a Hannah question. So Hannah is asking, does HANA Enterprise Search works when documents are stored at third-party content server? Or is it usable only when documents are stored in HANA DB, so tracks is still needed with the content server?
Okay, can you repeat the question from the beginning? I'm sorry.
All right. So does the HANA Enterprise Search works when documents are stored in third-party content servers, or is it only usable when documents stored in HANA DB, so tracks is still needed with content server?
So, I mean, yeah, for solutions like that, now because you're using HANA, you're not forced to use the embedded search. So for those cases, you would use the tracks engine, so you can still tell the Solution Manager to leverage your tracks for the documents. But yeah, I mean, because embedded search is available, you don't have to necessarily use it. You still have the option to pick and choose which way you want to go. Okay,
hope that answers your question, Hannah. We have a question from Dean. You briefly mentioned some issues with change management portion. Can you elaborate a bit on that?
Okay, I'm not the change management expert, so I wouldn't know. I mean, so I'm not involved in delivery at the detailed level, but things that I've heard that we've discussed with the team, they've seen issues with specifically with field names. I know that in custom transaction types, although they appeared one way, when you go to the CRM UI, the labels would be different. Sometimes they've seen just random characters. There have been issues where we had to really retype all the fields in, so they got resynchronized and they would appear correctly. I know the consultant had some issues with the email framework, but those were quickly overcome. They're not major issues, but at least we did notice. And maybe that would be a good question when we have the charm webinar, and at that time we would have done more upgrades, as we have several going on at this time and underway. So we'll have better data to give you. So those were a couple of things that come to my mind. Hopefully that helps.
Okay, hopefully that answers your question, Dean. Stay tuned for our future webinars when we go in depth into change management. I have a question from Sean, and his question is, will you have a future webinar to migrate ServiceNow or other IT service management tools to ITSM? I will answer this question. I don't see anything planned that in depth for this topic, but if there's interest within the community, we definitely will plan a webinar with this topic. Any comments, Dominic?
No, I agree. So I just want to make sure the question is to migrate, or at least to migrate from ServiceNow to ITSM and migrate the existing content. Is that correct?
Sean, do you want to follow up on that? That is correct.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we'll follow up and we'll see if there's an interest, and you know, we could see about putting something together. We'll
okay.
Definitely. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. So I have another question from Alan. His question is, can T-Rex run on the same host as the Solution Manager?
Yeah. So, well, it can, depending on the hardware that you're using. So obviously, as long as you keep in mind the Trex prerequisite, and I believe now it's only Linux and Windows, as long as you satisfy those requirements, then you should be able to run Trex on the same instance. Now, obviously, depending on how many documents you have, if you're going to leverage that Trex for multiple Solmans, or you're going to use it for CRM as well, sizing, definitely appropriate sizing has to be done. But yeah, it can be executed on the same host.
Okay, hope that answers the question, Alan. I have another question here from Siddharth. So what type of services do you provide in terms of the upgrade? We are interested in doing the upgrade ourselves. Can you help us on an as needed basis?
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah. I mean, definitely, we're very flexible, and we are participating in those type of activities as well with other customers. So we have customers that they do their own upgrade. We come in and do the follow-up, the post-processing activities, sometimes cleanup and whatever. So yeah, we're open. You can reach out to us, and definitely we're open to work with you in whatever model, whatever works out for you. So it's not a problem.
Okay, I have another question from Wing. Is Sybase ASE supported for running Solution Manager to avoid the license costs?
Oh, yeah, okay, I see. As an alternative to HANA, for example. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we have customers that are running Sybase ASE for Solution Manager without a problem. So yeah, that would be another cheaper alternative to running it on HANA from a hardware perspective. So yep, definitely yes. But for any of those supportability, just check the PAM at SAP for the latest supported versions and whatnot. Okay.
A question from Kenneth. Does 7.2 have to use SAP Web Dispatcher if you have multiple app servers, or can you use a third-party dispatcher?
No, you can use. We've used it in the past. So the same concept as before with different load balancer. We've used it, but with Web Dispatcher you get a little bit more, I believe, in terms of functionality and seeing that those nodes are available. But yeah, you don't have to necessarily use SAP Web Dispatcher as a load balancer.
Okay, hope that answers your question, Kenneth. I think I've come to the end of the question list. We still have about like 4 minutes, so I can squeeze in another question if you want to type it in here. I have a question from Everton. Is that, are we going to share this presentation? Yes, we're going to share it. We're going to upload it to YouTube afterwards. going to send a follow-up email to everyone with the link to this presentation if you need it. So hope that answers your question, Everton. So just waiting another minute. Oh, here you go. Sean, how much rework have you experienced during the upgrade for BPM based on customer processes?
Custom, okay, so if you've extended the existing extractors, I mean, the KPIs are pretty much the same as they were in the past, so we haven't seen a tremendous amount of rework. You would have to, what has changed is the framework and how you tie things together, which the managed object is still a managed object. So we would just tie to that managed object, but what's underneath it, a lot of it has remained the same. So the KPIs have not changed a lot. But it's really on case-by-case basis because it really depends what areas have you expanded on, what customizations you're using, you know, what tables you're bringing in, how extensive is the extractor enhancement compared to standard.
Okay. Coming to the top of the hour, if you have any further questions, you can feel free to email us or send a message on LinkedIn or tweet us. I really appreciate your time here today, and thank you, Dominic, and thank you everyone for attending today's webinar. As Dominic mentioned earlier, this is the first in a series of webinars that we'll be hosting to discuss topics regarding Solution Manager 7.2. You can view our next webinar at corealm.com/webinars. We really appreciate your presence here today. If you have any further questions, you can contact us. You also receive a follow-up email shortly with a link to view today's recording. On behalf of everyone here today at Core ALM, thank you for joining us and have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.